Any of the threatens indefinite strike, says palliatives insufficient. But these are the issues we'll be looking at today on Society Watch. And we have with us today a barrister and solicitor. He is also a senior researcher, Institute of Human Rights and Humanitarian Affairs. I'll introduce him to you shortly after this break. This is Society Watch on Atlantic Television Network. And we have with us today barrister and solicitor, as well as senior researcher, Institute of Human Rights and Humanitarian Affairs, Oshadala Oluwapelumi. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you, Moderator. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you. Well, let's take on our first issue from River State. River State Governor Siminalayi Fubara has read the riot acts to school principals in the state, saying anyone caught involved in cult activities would be summarily dismissed. Governor Fubara stated this at the commissioning of the remodeled government comprehensive secondary school Borokiri in the Old Patako Township on Tuesday. The governor said, "Today we have a world-class edifice. We have an environment that makes you feel and appreciate learning. Even our students will be happy to be in school. It will also encourage our teachers and spur them to put in their best. That was why the government at that time started it. When we came on board, we saw every reason to see that it was concluded and commissioned for the good of our people. Let me say it here. It should be a policy. Any principal found to be associated with cultism will be dismissed from service." Performing the commissioning, former president of the Nigerian Bar Association, Chief Onueze Okocha, SAN, commended the administration of Governor Fubara for transforming the school with quality structures and learning facilities that have become envious. In his project description, River State's Commissioner for Education, Professor Chinedu Umom, says there are administrative blocks of offices for staff, laboratories for sciences and agriculture, including information, communication, technology, and library. There is also a 24-classroom block, 500-capacity multi-purpose hall. Well, this is a very beautiful feat, but we'll go on a very short break before we take on the conversations.
Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics.
Nobody's ambition is what's the blood.
I have fought very firmly.
Natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorable Speaker.
You
On the point of order.
Honorable Speaker.
They are not picking our call.
With the EU, but
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Society Watch on Atlantic Television Network. And before we went on that break, I told you about a statement by the Rivers State Governor threatening to sack any principal found to be involved in court activities. And the issue of court in schools, most people have been proud of this. Some are lamenting that the Red Cross specifically is saying, wow, it's really becoming alarming and if nothing is done, we are going to get into worse situations. And Silver River State Governor is saying, well, if I find out that any principal, any school in the state is involved in any court-related activities, that principal is as good as fired, because that is what I am going to do to them. Well, we have Oshadola Oluwafemi. What is your take on that? Do you think that is going to check the rate of court activity
First, I want to commend Mr. Governor for this giant step he has taken ever since his predecessor has left office. At least we can now see that the same infrastructural seal of his predecessor is what he also carried and shared the vision of his predecessor. And that is continuity in progress. And for the new look that secondary school at Kurugiri has won now is also to show that they are to bring a meaningful life, particularly for our education in River State to be highly promoted. That be that is me. In the aspect of Mr. Governor reading out the Rights Act to the hearing of school principal, it means before you do that, or you could have done that, it therefore means that there have been so many reports of indulgence on the part of school authorities, allowing their students to join illegal association, as it's being called secret court. And it's quite alarming that what we are seeing these days, we are seeing, primary school students, secondary school students forming all sorts of an unholy alliance. All in the name they want to measure up. They want to know what is up. They want to belong to the society. And as a result of that, see them joining secret court here and there. I think it's a good step taken by the governor so that nobody will say, I don't know. Because ignorant of the law on its own is not an excuse. So for government to have even gone far to read it, it means he has the interest and the yearnings of the people at heart. So that if any principal or any authority found one thing, they won't say, oh, maybe by the time the governor is now like outright dismissal, they won't say, oh, governor is all out to vision the people of the society. So I think it's a welcome development. And I also believe that it will also checkmate the SSs of the students as well, so that the social disorder and crisis we are witnessing in our current days will be, if not checked totally, at least will be brought to a barest minimum.
Now we know that the teachers have a major part.
Every day, our lives are changing.
In secondary schools and primary to an end, and the principal is not left outdoor. But do you think that is enough that the government? Do you think the government needs to bring external bodies to school? Because right now the activities might be on in schools. That is why they get to know. That is why it became alarming, and the governor get to know that this is what is going on. It means that it's not just enough to urge them to stop. They need to find a way to stop it. So what do you think the government needs to do to stop all of this? Yes, we know that he has read out a whole lot for us.
I agree, moderator. Going back to the drawing board, I remember vividly in our own days when we were in secondary school or primary school, when the government was still government, not these days that government, they are no longer, they have been avoiding or checking their primary responsibility. We used to promote governance and bring the good government down to the people there. I know during our days there is something we call inspectorate team. They used to set up. They always come from the Ministry of Education. They move from school to school. Even at the local government level, they have it down there. They move from school to school. And what are they doing? They checkmate the SSEs, the indolences of teachers. Some teachers, maybe from Monday till Friday, they will only be in school on Monday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, they are nowhere to be found. Some are already in the market selling their byproduct. I think it is high time we revisit this method or this procedure that has been in the past. If that is being done, I think not only that it will displace what Mr. Governor has said, but rather it will corroborate it to ensuring that this issue, this menace of occultic society, joining of and secret court activities to the extent that it brought that PO in our order, it will be reduced to a barest minimum.
I totally agree, and hope that beyond just reading the Rights Act, that the governor is going to take drastic measures to ensure that this menace is stopped as soon as possible. And that these principals, of course, are going to uphold what they are teaching to the students. Let's look at our next issue from Delta State. The Delta State Police Command has apprehended a woman for allegedly killing her husband in Mosoga community, Ethiopia West local government area of the state. The spokesman of the command, DSP Bright Edafe, disclosed this to the news agency of Nigeria in Warri on Wednesday. She did not cut the testicles. She drew it, and you know that part is delicate. The man died in the process, and the suspect has been arrested, Edafe said. A reliable source who did not want his name mentioned said that the elder brother of the deceased reported the matter on Tuesday at the Mosoga police station. The source identified the deceased as Jack Mo Efemini, adding that he was aged 32. He added that the incident occurred on Tuesday at about 1:20 p.m. following a misunderstanding between the deceased and his wife. My younger brother's wife held and drew the testicles of her husband, Efemini, aged 32, while they were fighting in Mosoga. In the process, my brother slumped and was rushed to the hospital where he was later certified dead. The corpse has been deposited at the mortuary in Mosoga. The source quoted the deceased brother as saying. Now, I've heard severally that most times when women tend to engage in a fight with the men, they always go down there. I really do not know why they think that is going to be the solution to it. But in this case, there was a fight. Now, it is possible that maybe the man was overpowering her and she needed more like a weak point where I can lay grab on this man. Can we say that this was done in self-defense?
Of course. If we should look at the surrounding circumstances of the story painted, it is quite clear that what actually played out there is, if at all she hires me to be a lawyer, the angle will be coming from will definitely be on the part of self-defense. However, one thing that we cannot take away from the whole story is this: no matter what the misunderstanding would have broken out between the both parties, I think the law too has made ample provisions on how to go by it. No matter what, the wife could have reported the husband to the appropriate authorities. At least I know in Delta State, their Ministry of Women Affairs are functional. If she doesn't want to go by that route, she can go through the route of the Federation of International Women Lawyers, FIDA. They have their offices all over. And if beyond that, she can as well approach the National Human Rights Commission, the Delta State chapter, at least to ensure that they bring the deceased now, who happens to be the culprit, if to speak, at least to book and to checkmate the excesses of I definitely know that this is not the first time that the husband has been beating her. Maybe it has been a recurring decimal. Maybe possibly she has not even been targeting the testicle. It may be an advice from a third party that, girl, you need to wise up. When your husband is beating you, go down there. At least maybe she may not even show the intention. It may not be intentional on her part to actually draw it, maybe just to let the husband leave her from beating, but we can see what it turned out to. It's quite unfortunate, but be that as it may, the law will definitely take its course.
Now, if we are going to say that maybe the plea of self-defense can suffice, you also know that drawing a testicle means you're trying to kill a person. So can it still suffice, knowing very well that that is a very delicate part?
Yes, in establishing any criminal offense, there are two things involved. It talks about the action and the intention. So if you are looking at the heart, agree. We may say, oh, issue of self-defense may not, but you cannot just establish act only without looking at the intention. So if you are merging both the intention and the act together, of course, the issue of self-defense can suffice. But it does not, even if she raised the issue of self-defense, it does not still stop her not to be duly prosecuted. Hell. The only thing that will reduce or abate is the nature of punishment that will be meted to her. Maybe rather for her to die by hanging, they may reduce it to life imprisonment.
To what extent? I just had to exclaim because that's exactly what I wanted to ask. But to what extent can the court actually see a particular case as self-defense? Because you said even if it is self-defense suffice, that she will still serve the right judgment, irrespective of what happened. And again, I want to ask, to what extent can one come to acknowledge that I am so angry to a point that if I hold this person, if I do what I want to do, because if you look at this now, emotion is rightly involved here. But is there an extent that one can know that with what I am going to do now, I think like this person might not survive with the kind of anger I'm carrying, because you were like the women's, women authorities there for her to report this issue to. You know, at times it could just be a minor issue that you are like, it shouldn't even, the third party should not even hear. But to what extent do you think an issue should be taken to the women to handle?
Thank you so much, moderator. You know, the first question you raised is what determines the extent of the survival of self-defense in the court of law. Well, that depends on nature and the conduct of parties, the nature of the case, the conduct of parties, and the surrounding circumstances. So it is these three factors that the court will look at to actually establish that, okay, what happens if a reasonable person is in that situation? What would they have done? So if what the reasonable person would have done is actually what the lady have done, the defense of self-defense will actually suffice, or any defense at all. She may raise the defense of provocation, that it was provocation that brought about action. Fine. But these three factors, court must actually consider them. While on the other part of your question is that, one thing is there is no extent, in truth be told, because when you are angry, we are, as humans, we overshoot our shots during anger, and that is why they said the best antidote for anger is that you should just keep quiet. In you keeping quiet, you will be able to have a second thought, and when you have a second thought, you will even realize that even what the husband maybe is abusing you, it may not even be enough or commensurate with the exact force that you are exerting, which brought about the death of the husband. Maybe possibly, if as at that time the husband was like, I will beat you today, she runs out of the house and quickly go to neighbor's house. Possibly, the husband may even be ashamed, because the story said it's not even, I definitely know that if it is an open fight, the story would have captured it. It means that it's a quarrel that broke out inside the room. So it is better for her to have even kept quiet, looking at the husband and having in mind what she wants to do, and do it. It will have been better, and it will have saved the situation. Now, she has lost her darling husband. Secondly, she will face the wrath of the law, because every life belongs to the state. So even if the family of the husband say, no, we are not going to go to court, we say they will not go to court, then we say, no, you've killed our own person. The law must take its course.
It's very unfortunate. But like I said, the issues of women in a fight holding on to or dragging a man's testicles, it's really rampant. It's common in the society. I know most times we feel you're overpowering us, and then we try to do that in self-defense. But what do you think? What do you think should be the best thing to be done?
I think the best thing is the moment the woman or either party is looking at the conduct of the other person, and that conduct is becoming arbitrary, it's something we ourselves can depict. The moment you see that you and your husband, you are together, and small thing has sparked fire, and the man wants to beat you, I think the best bet is for you to go and report at the appropriate authority. The police stations are there. You can go to a police station, report the case. Not maybe necessarily you are reporting your husband, or you can even...
That's the point, because most times people be like, you're taking this too far.
Even, okay, assuming without conceding that you don't want to report to the police, what about the family members? There are some things that you don't need to stomach. What about the church you go to? I think your husband too is subjected to somebody that you respect in the society. What about the traditional institutions of that place? So there are so many leeway that the wife would have explored to prevent the ugly incident that have taken place now. But quite unfortunate that
Very
she
unfortunate.
failed
I'm sure deep down somewhere she's even regretting her actions, but the deed has been done. Women, I understand, but always be careful. Take other options. It's safer than having a life lost to such incidents like this. But let's look at our next issue, still from Delta State, where a Nigerian pastor with New Glory Revival Church, identified as Pastor Asowata, has been arrested by security operatives after he slept with a married woman who is his choir mistress. Now, the pastor revealed that he has slept with a woman identified as Mrs. Patience Anufa 2 times. According to reports, trouble started when the woman fell ill and no medication was working. The woman fell ill and started emaciating with no drugs working for her. She had no option than to confess to the husband that she has been sleeping with the pastor. The woman's children are instrumentalists in her church. Now, I am not trying to say that this is the right thing to do. I mean, I condemn this in all entirety, but these are two adults who, from the situation, from the narration of both the woman and the pastor, it seemed like there was consent. What's your take with the arrest of the pastor?
Well, one thing is, well, we condemn in totality the action of the pastor or the action of the woman and the pastor. To me, I feel it's nemesis that want to catch both of them.
Obviously.
Possibly, the pastor might have not done anything, and the pastor might have been using her for a purpose. Are you getting? But I just feel that it's nemesis that is the head of the, let me speak the local language now. They say it's the head of the husband that is fighting back that actually led to this. But one thing is this, it's not a case of adultery. It therefore means that it's a mutual consent. And that won't be a mutual consent. There is no actually a case against the pastor, even despite the arrest, because in our criminal code system of, let me say the southern Nigeria, in which it harbors south, southeast, and southwest. Delta State is in south. So in our criminal code system of Nigeria, adultery is never a ground for any offense, unlike it is in the northern Nigeria. If it is northern Nigeria, rather for him to be taken to police station, they would have flogged hell out of the man, or stone him, or stone both of them. But in the south, our criminal code does not make provision. There is no written provision for any punishable offense, punishable section, or any punishment for whoever commits an adultery. The only right that can be exercised or exercisable by the husband is to seek redress. Maybe if the husband insists that I want to dissolve the marriage, of course, you will definitely, on the ground of adultery, it's a ground for dissolution of marriage under our matrimonial causes laws of Nigeria. So the husband can come under that, and a lot of heavy damages will be paid. I've witnesses many, even of a popular OAP in this country that was caught in that act. 5 million naira award was made against him to pay to the husband of the woman she committed the adultery with, and the law was enforced.
But we are talking about, I mean, we keep singing about jungle justice. Yeah. When you're talking about that, maybe they would have taken it in another aspect, like flogging the man or the woman or something of that. This is someone's wife. Automatically, she's someone's property. If I take what belongs to you, it means that I should be punished. Even if it's not there in the law, I think something that you people have to look for a way to include this, because you know that men cannot withstand another man misbehaving with their wives. So if they have to take laws into their hands, we will have another case, and that will be jungle justice. And before you know, the man will not be the one to be persecuted. So don't you think it is very necessary for this to be included?
Of course.
Even though the woman confessed because of what she went through.
Of course, there is a lacuna. There is a gap.
And the customary laws do not even recognize
There is a gap in our criminal justice system, particularly that of the South, Nigeria, as touching the offense of adultery. Are you getting? And you know, when the provision of the Constitution is clear by Section 36 of 12, He said that before you can punish anybody, the offense the person commits must be written, must be in a written law. If the offense he commits is not in a written law, how will you now punish that person? However, one thing we should get clear is this: the fact that you cannot get succor in the criminal aspect does not take away the right of the husband of the woman now, who the adultery has been committed against, not to exercise her matrimonial right. And in exercising the matrimonial right, both the adulterer and the man that perpetrated the evil act against her, both of them will pay heavy damages to the woman eligible husband. That is one thing we should get clear here.
And do you think
the law does not actually fold his hands and just say, oh, you can go scot-free. No, the husband can say exactly. What I'm saying in essence is that looking at where the offense was committed, it is in the south, and our criminal justice system in the south does not make provision.
But you also know that these people, especially Delta State, have some rigid traditions when it comes to adultery.
Of course, I was reading that of Urobo. If it is in Urobo land now, maybe the gods would have struck dead the woman. But be that is me, one thing we should know is this: it now depends on which type of law the husband of the woman actually subscribe to. Is it customary law? If it is customary law, of course, the customary law that governs his way of life, his personal affairs, will definitely take its course against the wife. But if it is a statutory law that he has subscribed to, our criminal code law of Delta State does not make provision. So I think maybe the State House of Assembly there now is high time they look into it and try to find a way to bring a supplementary law now that makes provision. But generally, in the whole of certain region, adultery is never an offense. Maybe that is why it keeps going on and going on.
It's very unfortunate. It's even more annoying because I want to believe that the woman knows the culture and the custom of her people. Well, it's a good thing that probably she realized, well, this must have been the reason for my illness, and so she had to speak up. Let's just watch and see the outcome of that case, given the situation on ground. Okay, let's look at our next issue from Anambra State. Over 1,000 women of the Nimo community in Njikoka local government area of Anambra State have protested against their traditional ruler, Igwe Max Ike Oliobi, and the leadership of the community town union over alleged land grabbing and high-handedness. The women threatened that if the state governor, Professor Chukwumacha Soludo, does not urgently intervene and address their challenges, they will have no other option but to embark on a naked protest against the community leadership. The women stormed the state government house along the Enugu-Onitsha motorway in Oka on Wednesday with placards calling on the state government to end the activities of the traditional ruler and the town union executive, adding that if the leadership did not stop selling the community land, the actions might trigger a communal war in no time. Addressing journalists shortly after the protest, Mrs. Ifeoma Ezeozue, who spoke on behalf of the women, said the protest was against the way and manner in which their ancestral farmlands are being sold out indiscriminately without future consideration. According to her, Nimo accession farmlands are being sold out indiscriminately without our notice. We no longer go to farms because there is no more land to farm. They want to force us into prostitution. They have declared sit at home in Nimo community because we now wake up every day and stay idle at home without any engagement. Farming is our major sources of livelihood in the area. Responding on behalf of the government, the secretary to the state government, Professor Solo Chukwulubelu, appealed to the women to remain calm, assuring them that the government under Professor Soludo will address their demands without delay. Now, I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of those women. First, there is this annoying sit-at-home policy that seems to have crippled a major aspect of the economy. And then these women are still trying to battle with that. And the farms, which has become their, maybe their last resort, is now being sold out by, according to them, the community leadership. And so it's more like, according to them, you're going to push us to prostitution because if we have nothing to do, we can't go to the markets, we can't go to the farms, you're pushing us to prostitution. And they are saying if the governor doesn't do anything, they're going to protest naked. What is your take on all of this?
Well, it's quite unfortunate that the traditional institution are us to serve the custom and traditions and the heritage of the people of Nimo, and not the same set of persons going against the custom and tradition of the land. It's quite unfortunate. But one thing is clear here. The justification on the part of the traditional leadership now may be if the land in Nimo, we don't know what actually their own custom and tradition says. If the entire land in Nimo is vested, is a rural area, know that it's vested in their traditional institution. Of course, the selling of the landed property is vested on those traditional institutions. So selling their property does not change anything, does not make any difference. So no matter the amount of protest of these women, but I think it's more than that. And more than that in the sense that in the general populace, one thing is clear. There are individual ownership of property. There is a family ownership of property. We now have community ownership of property. I think the traditional institution have started moving. Maybe they've actually sold the entire community property. Truth be told, possibly they've sold the properties that belongs to the community. That, okay, this area is exclusively reserved for the heritage and interest, the common heritage of our. Maybe they've sold it all, and now they want to delve into family and individual properties, and that is what prompted the women to come on board and say, no, it can't continue like this. We need to something urgent, something drastic needs to be done, and I think that is why the Anambra State governor, who by virtue of the Land Use Act is vested with the ownership, and not even is a trustee of all lands, all governors in the state of the federation. They are trustee of all land ownership, which they keep in trust. They hold it in trust for the people, for the general populace, except for overriding public interest. So I think what the governor will need to find out now is actually the land acquired by the traditional institution. Are they reserving it for the government for overriding public interest? If that is the case, then how will government pay compensation that will be adequate? Are you getting? But if that is not the case, if they are just selling the property for the purpose of cashing out and sending their children abroad.
No, but you see, I think I have an issue. First of all, we know the Land Use Act vests the ownership ownership in trust for the people of lands in the governors. Yeah. And now you also talked about these traditional rulers being responsible for holding this land also for the people. I'm beginning to find it conflicting, because I was thinking if traditional rulers are going to go to the essence of selling out maybe a very significant portion of the land, they should get some approval from the state government, since the state government holds the land in trust.
There is no well, it may look conflicting, but what I'm actually saying in essence is this. All land in the state of the federation is held in trust by the governor for the people. However, Mr. Governor is in the state. It's not in every local government. So every local government there, they hold land in trust for the people of their local government too, because they are representative of the government. And if you are talking about traditional institutions, who imposed them there? Who put them there? At least if we look at our the chief laws, the chieftaincy law of various states, it empowers the governor to go to the nooks and crannies of these localities and impose whoever the law deems it fit to become their traditional ruler. So in such way and manner too, that person is the representative of the governor who also owns this property. But one thing is clear. The thin line is this. The property in question, as I've explained, that they are selling off, is it property that belongs to the community as a whole? If the area we are talking about, for example, maybe this location now, they said all of us agree, ancestral back there, and there are either customs documentation to that effect that this area, all family have relinquished it for the general interest of the community or future interest of the community. And if the community leaders now, they start selling it off, you can't hold them responsible. But if it is individual properties or family properties per family now, in that they are now trespassing into those land and start selling it, it calls for questioning. And that is why I think the governor of the state needs to look into the whole affairs before it escalates.
But when you said something that these lands, if they haven't sold out and then they are protesting, that is of no use them protesting because already been sold out. And we are not just talking about a particular community here. I'm sure this is about a state. So if the government have to come in, the governor have to come in. And I think that's why the Secretary of the State has come to say that they should not worry, they should be calm, that something is going to be done about it. If it's already sold, based on the power that the governor has, is there nowhere these lands can be retrieved? And again, if it cannot be retrieved, what kind of compensation do you think the governor can give these people
of
to
course,
be able to
any land
meet their...
any land that is sold that illegally can be retrieved by court of law. Take it from me. You can approach court for legal redress. And of course, if you have all what it is, if they are able to establish that it's our family property, it's our individual property, of course, every damages will even be sanctioned against the traditional institutions who have perpetrated this illicit act. But be that as it may, my own position is this. They need to find out, even government needs to find out, this land in question, is it communal, is it family-wise, is it individual-wise, before they can even make a final findings and decisions on the matter.
All right, thank you so much. It's unfortunate, but this is where we have to draw the curtain for today. Thank you so much, Ashadullah, for joining us.
Thank you, Moderator.
And thank you, Immaculata.
Thank you, Anita.
And thank you, our viewers, for being out there. I am Anita Obari. If you missed anything, you can follow us on our social media platforms, Twitter, Atlantic TV Net, Facebook and YouTube at Atlantic Television Network, Instagram and TikTok at Atlantic TV Network 1. And do remember that peace and unity are the pathways to